Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Ishan Russell. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories, and we'll be filling you in on them over the next half hour. But first, the headlines are tracking right now. Gujarat passes controversial Gujarat Control of Terrorism and Organised Crime Bill for the third time. New law allows phone taps as admissible evidence. Supreme Court issues notice to senior BJP leader L.K. Advani and 18 others in the Babri demolition case. Petition seeks charges to be restored against them. Floodwaters recede in Jammu and Kashmir. The death toll rises to 16, with 6 more bodies being recovered from the Budgam district. India sends warships and planes to help around 400 Indians stuck in Yemen. Fresh attacks by Arab coalition kills 40 Houthi rebels. And former New Zealand captain Daniel Vettori retires from international cricket. In an 18-year career, Vettori took 705 wickets and scored 7,000 runs. A top story right now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today met 13 ministers, including all ministers of state with independent charge, for over 2 hours. Amit Shah, the party president of the BJP, was also present at the meeting. Reports said that the Prime Minister asked the ministers if they were facing any problems and urged them to work in a transparent manner. He also encouraged them to take constant feedback from the public. The discussions come in the wake of a warning by the Rajya Swayamsevak Sangh several days ago of a growing disconnect within the BJP over the past few months. It was decided that Shah will meet party workers twice a month as well. And the cabinet also would be meeting today in a short while from now, and what's on the agenda over there. And as far as the government is concerned, a lot of activity happening. Vishal Dahiya has been tracking all these developments, and he's standing outside the 7 racecourse road residence of the Prime Minister with the latest. So Vishal, busy day for the Prime Minister. He met the ministers in the morning in a cabinet meet, but the government has its back to the wall because a lot of key legislations, its agenda, as many would say, have not really seen the light of the day, including the land acquisition bill. We seem to have launched that connection with Vishal Dahiya. What we'll be talking to Vishal about is the cabinet meet that is expected to take place at 6:30 in the evening today. What's on the agenda there? We'll be discussing that with him as well as what was the agenda in the meeting with the ministers. The government really having its hand full and going about a change in perception in its image. Vishal, that perhaps primarily on the Prime Minister's mind, given the slew of meetings that he's had today?
Well, Ishan, one of the meetings which you spoke about is the meeting with the Minister of State with independent charges. Now, there are several ministries in Narendra Modi's government out here, Prime Minister Modi's government, which are key ministries, considered to be key ministries, but are being held by ministers who have independent charges, but they are MOS rank. One very important point to be noted out here is that this is not the first time that the Prime Minister has held separate meeting with his ministerial colleagues. There were meetings which were held earlier also, and the Prime Minister has held these meetings from time to time, taking stock of ministries both sector-wise as well as their rank-wise. He has held meetings earlier with just the Minister of States as well. So there is one reason which is being cited for this meeting is to try and get more views on board as to what exactly can be done in these key ministries. What are the areas wherein more improvement needs to be done. But then let's also not forget the speculations doing the round that the Prime Minister might go ahead and revamp, rather, do a sort of a reshuffle of his ministry in the coming week, maybe before the second half of the budget session of Lok Sabha begins. So therein also this can be considered a really important meeting, because this can also be considered also as a meeting wherein he might have taken stock of what exactly has been done by these ministers in their respective departments, and then sort of an assessment as well. That is something which we will get to know only when the reshuffle happens, and if either of them is shifted from that particular ministry or dropped altogether. But apart from that, the cabinet meeting which you spoke about, which is going to begin in a short while from now at the Prime Minister's residence here, that is also considered to be really important. One of the items, though officially not given out by the government, but which we are expecting that one of the items which should be really high on the agenda out here can be the re-promulgation of the ordinance which deals with the land acquisition bill. Now, the reason why it can be done today is because the earlier ordinance which was promulgated will lapse on 5th of April. And the next 4 days, that is 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th of April, are very busy days for the Prime Minister. In fact, the Prime Minister himself will not be in the capital. He will be traveling out. Tomorrow he will be in Odisha. On 2nd he will be in Mumbai. And on 3rd and 4th he will be in Bangalore attending a convention of the BJP. So obviously we are expecting that a decision on the re-promulgation of the land acquisition bill may be taken today in the cabinet, and we'll have to wait and watch. The cabinet might go on for at least another hour and a half. So maybe around 8 o'clock we will have a final word on whether or not this decision has been taken by the government.
All right, so the government keeping a tab, and Vishal, they are keeping a tab on all those developments happening on the government front. The cabinet meeting is taking place. The PM has already met the MOSs, so a lot expected once that briefing happens. But Vishal, thanks very much for coming in and sharing that update with us. Moving on now, the Gujarat government today passed the controversial anti-terror bill that failed to get the presidential assent thrice. The renamed legislation retains provisions like allowing police to tap telephonic conversations and submit them in court as evidence. The Gujarat Control of Terrorism and Organised Crime Bill 2015 was approved by a majority vote. The opposition Congress put up a stiff resistance to the bill and walked out of the House over its controversial provisions.
After being rejected twice, the stringent Gujarat Control of Terrorism and Organised Crime Bill was finally passed on Tuesday. It allows law enforcement agencies to tap telephones, make confessions made to police admissible in court, and suspects to be detained longer than at present.
गुजकोक में जो हमने प्रावधान रखे वो खास करके पुलिस को इन्वेस्टिगेशन में ज़्यादा सुविधा और सरलता प्राप्त हो, उसको काफ़ी व्यापकता स्कोप मिले और पुलिस जो एविडेंस एकत्र करती है इसमें अभी जो टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज होता है, समझ लो कि कोई आतंकवादी मोबाइल से या सैटेलाइट फोन से कोई इंस्ट्रक्शन देता है और कोई बम धमाका होता है, तो ऐसे जो टेक्नोलॉजी का उपयोग करते हुए जो लोग ऐसे गंभीर प्रकार की गुनाहित कृत्य करते हैं, ऐसे लोगों ने जो इंस्ट्रूमेंट यूज किए हैं, जो टेक्नोलॉजी यूज की है, उसी टेक्नोलॉजी का उपयोग करके उनके अगेंस्ट में कोर्ट में केस भी पुरवार कर सके.
The Gujarat Assembly passed the law after the opposition Congress walked out without voting on the contentious clauses of the legislation.
कानून बनता है लॉ एंड ऑर्डर और आवाम के हित के लिए. अनफॉर्चुनेटली गुजरात में और इस देश में बीजेपी कानून को भी पॉलिटिकल माइलेज के लिए यूज करती है. हमने कहा कि दो प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने गुजकोक के 3 सेक्शन हटाने को बोले हैं, तब आप ये नहीं कर रहे हो, ये अल्ट्रा वायरस होगा और हम इस पाप में साथ नहीं दे सकते. हमें हाउस छोड़ के निकलना पड़ा.
The bill is said to be on the lines of the Maharashtra Control of Organised Crime Act. It was rejected in 2004 and 2008 by then Presidents APJ Abdul Kalam and Pratibha Patil. Both suggested amendments in provisions related to telephone interception and confessions to police being considered as admissible evidence. The bill was passed for a third time and is pending with the President. The Assembly passed a fresh draft of the bill with a new name, the Gujarat Control of Terrorism and Organised Crime Bill.
You will find in the last 2 decades, we had TADA, we had POTA, we had similar laws. And those laws unfortunately did not serve the purpose for which they were in fact enacted. This law also, I am afraid, is likely to be misused unless Gujarat government has some device to check this abuse.
जहाँ तक सुरक्षा का मामला है उसमें किसी को कोई आपत्ति नहीं होनी चाहिए, लेकिन अगर किसी को राजनीतिक प्रतिद्वंदियों को दबाने के लिए, राजनीतिक प्रतिद्वंदियों की जासूसी करने के लिए यह कानून बनाया गया है, आम आदमी को दबाने के लिए यह कानून बनाया गया है, तो ये बहुत गलत है.
Justifying the provisions, the statements and objects laid down in the bill state that it's necessary in the present day when organized criminal syndicates make extensive use of wire and oral communication. The statement also adds that existing laws are inadequate to curb the menace of organized crimes. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, the Supreme Court today served notices to senior BJP leader L.K. Advani and several other party leaders in the 22-year-old Babri demolition case. The top court asked them to reply to a petition that challenges dropping of criminal charges against them.
The Babri demolition case has returned to haunt senior BJP leaders. The Supreme Court has sent notice to party patriarch L.K. Advani and 18 other leaders asking them to respond within 4 weeks to a petition that seeks to restore criminal charges against them. The CBI was also sent a separate notice to explain the delay in moving the top court against the Allahabad High Court order. In 2010, the Allahabad High Court dropped conspiracy charges against these leaders in the Babri demolition case.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने हाजी महबूब की पिटीशन को पर नोटिस करते हुए दूसरी साइड को कहा है कि वो इस मामले में जवाब दें। नोटिस जो वहाँ ड्रॉप हुए थे जो लोग उसमें जो मेन एक्यूज्ड थे उसमें मिस्टर आडवाणी, मिस्टर कल्याण सिंह, मिस उमा भारती और 20 और लोग हैं, 15 और लोग हैं जिनके खिलाफ हुए।
आज जब सेंट्रल में भाजपा सरकार आई उस वक्त अब राजनाथ जी जो हैं गृह मंत्री हैं, सीबीआई उन्हीं के अंडर में काम करती है। फिर ये आवाज़ उठाई गई कि इनको इस केस से निकाल दिया जाए।
Apart from the notice, the Apex Court has given additional time to the CBI to prepare its case in support of its appeal against the Allahabad High Court order. Meanwhile, opposition parties hit out at the investigating agency for deliberately delaying the case.
CBI was dragging their feet and this investigation was going at snail's pace. Because important people are involved, a criminal act, demolition of the Babri Mosque, whoever was behind the conspiracy or behind the action, they were still not brought to the limelight. So the fact that the Supreme Court has found this lethargy on the part of the CBI investigative agency is very right, very appropriate, and that direction I hope things will move fast now.
Ever since this Babri Masjid demolition and the communal rights before the Babri Masjid demolition and after the Babri Masjid demolition has resulted an increase in the terror activities in the country. So this is something which we have to be very careful about, and I would urge upon the judiciary to expedite this case. If they are innocent, leave them, but if they are responsible, then they must be punished.
The BJP, however, maintains it's a routine course for the court and the leaders will come out clean.
कानूनी प्रक्रिया है और ये अदालत का मामला है और अदालत में अपना पक्ष है, ये लोग भी रख रहे हैं, पहले भी रखा है।
Other leaders who were issued notices include Union Minister Uma Bharti and Rajasthan Governor Kalyan Singh. The leaders face charges connected to 2 FIRs in the 1992 demolition case. The first alleges a conspiracy by lakhs of unknown car sevaks, while the second FIR specifically accuses BJP leaders of making inflammatory speeches to incite volunteers. The two cases were handed over to the CBI, which filed a composite charge sheet in October 1993. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The flood threat in Kashmir Valley has reduced today with improved weather and receding water levels in the Jhelum River. The death toll though rose to 16 with 6 more bodies being recovered from Badgam district. The centre has assured more help if necessary after the Met Office warned of heavy rains over the next few days.
The Kashmir Valley got a respite on Tuesday from a rising Jhelum River. There was no rain, a clearer sky and receding floodwaters in different parts of the region. Fire and Emergency Services Department swung into action. Nearly 25 tenders with dewatering pumps were stationed across capital Srinagar to pump out water from the roads. NDRF continues to carry out rescue and relief operations. The centre has assured that the situation is now under control.
जहाँ पे हम मेजर करते हैं वहाँ पे लगभग 3 फीट का पानी नीचे गया है और इसी तरह अन्य इलाकों में भी। सो मुझे लगता है कि स्थिति में काफी सुधार आई है, लेकिन ये केवल फ्लड की बात है।
वी हैव गिवन द कॉल टू द जनरल पब्लिक, स्पेशली जो भी हमारे यहाँ पर बुजुर्ग लोग हैं, पेशेंट्स हैं, बच्चे हैं, उनको कहा है कि सेफ जोन में आप एंटर कीजिए।
अभी सिचुएशन कंट्रोल में है और हमारा टीम वहाँ काम कर रहे हैं और राज्य सरकार के साथ मिल करके और हमारे केंद्र का वहाँ जितने भी काम करने वाले टीम पहुंचे हुए हैं, इसलिए कोई अभी घटना की बात नहीं है, वो सब नियंत्रण में है।
The national highway linking the valley to Jammu was also reopened after it was shut down due to landslides.
एक दो दिन पहले यहाँ पर काफ़ी ज़्यादा लैंडस्लाइड्स आ गए थे और कल इसको थोड़ा बहुत क्लियर किया गया था, क्योंकि कुछ व्हीकल्स जो थी चिनैनी में, समरौली में और खुद में कुछ स्टैंडर्ड हो गई थी व्हीकल्स, तो रास्ता ना खुलने की वजह से कल जो है इनको यहाँ से वापस ये चले गए थे। फॉर द टाइमिंग ये खोल दिया गया था, तो अभी तक ये खुला ही है और मौसम को देखते हुए अभी हम ये देख रहे हैं कि ये कब तक खुला रहेगा।
However, the opposition parties are not happy with the steps taken by the government so far. They accuse the ruling PDP and BJP of delay in rescue and relief operations. National Conference walked out of the assembly over the government's alleged inaction to prevent the disaster.
हमने ये कहा था, ये डिस्कस कर लीजिए, पहले एक्शन लीजिए अफसरों का। वह अफसर कहाँ थे? अफसर सोए हुए थे जब ये लोग मर गए। उनको चाहिए था इनको रेस्क्यू करके किसी जगह पहुंचाए थे। एक अनसेफ मकान में उनको रखा गया। Who is responsible? Government is responsible.
Meanwhile, the Met Office has warned of more heavy rains over the next few days. It raised concerns of more flooding across the valley. The centre has assured help and kept more paramilitary forces on standby. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, there was more trouble for the Aam Aadmi Party as former MLA Rajesh Garg alleging fake calls from BJP offering crores of rupees to AAP leaders emerged. Now, he claimed the calls were made with the consent of Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal before the assembly polls. The party refused to make any statement over the new controversy amid a major infight that threatens to split it.
Trouble grew for an embattled Aam Aadmi Party on Tuesday. Former party MLA Rajesh Garg, whom the party had recently suspended, alleged that he was among many Aam Aadmi Party leaders who received fake calls from BJP leaders offering money before the assembly polls in Delhi. Garg claims the calls were made with the consent of Arvind Kejriwal, who had levelled charges against the BJP and Congress of trying to buy out Aam Aadmi Party leaders. However, the party rejected the allegations as baseless.
जो अरविंद जी मुख्यमंत्री थे तो उनके जो पीए आज जो पी हैं वो भी पीए उस समय भी वही थे, मिस्टर विभव कुमार। उनका फोन आया सुबह सुबह, भाई साहब वो जो आपने कोई कंप्लेंट की थी क्या, वो 10 करोड़ रुपए की ऑफर के बारे में। हाँ की थी, बोला वो हमारे आदमी को बहुत पुलिस परेशान कर रही है, आप जरा उस मामले को परस्यू मत करना। ठीक है देखते। और उसके थोड़ी देर बाद ही संजय सिंह जी का फोन आया कि उस कंप्लेंट को विड्रॉ कर लो।
ये पहली बात तो राजेश गर्ग की बात को इतनी उनकी कोई विश्वसनीयता है ही नहीं। उनको टिकट नहीं दिया गया, वो तब से भटके हुए हैं। अब वो कह रहे हैं मेरे पास 1 साल पहले आते, तो अगर 1 साल पहले आए थे तो पहली बात तो उन्होंने पहले क्यों नहीं बताया।
इन षड्यंत्रों और साजिशों के माध्यम से ही वो षड्यंत्र साजिश चाहे अपोजिशन पार्टीज के लिए हो, वो साजिशें चाहे अपने दल के लिए लोगों के लिए हो, और वही षड्यंत्र और धोखा चाहे दिल्ली की जनता के लिए हो। बड़े साफ गोई से उन्होंने बड़ी सफाई से इन सब चीजों का प्रयोग किया है और अब धीरे धीरे जो सच है, धीरे धीरे जो खुलासा है, वो सामने हो रहा है।
Meanwhile, a senior party national executive member has raised questions over the manner in which Prashant Bhushan and Admiral Ramdas were removed from the panel. Rakesh Sinha said the decisions were taken in a hurry without consultations of all members of the panel.
जिस तरह से नेशनल काउंसिल की मीटिंग को संचालित किया गया, जिस तरह से कुछ निराधार आरोप लगाकर और फिर रेजिग्नेशन का दबाव बनाकर पार्टी के बहुत प्रमुख लोगों को नेशनल एग्जीक्यूटिव से निकाला गया, मैं नाराज नहीं हूं, लेकिन मैं दुखी हूं अपने लोकपाल के साथ हमने जो व्यवहार किया है उससे।
The party had appointed 3 new members to the Lokpal panel, which triggered fresh protests within the Aam Aadmi Party. Despite the bitter infighting and a weekend of intense standoff and high drama, Kejriwal has claimed all is well within his party. With inputs from Anu Diwan, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And more news from across the country and nationwide. The Income Tax Department published 18 names of 18 entities that owe over 500 crores to the Exchequer. This after the Central Board of Direct Taxes directed the IT department to post the names on its website to force them to pay their dues. Gulsukh Trade India Limited and Blue Information Technology Limited topped the list with dues of over 75 crores. 11 of the defaulters are based in Gujarat. Some of the service tax proposals announced in Budget 2015-16 will come into effect from tomorrow. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley had come out with a host of proposals last month to rationalize service tax. The service tax rate was also raised from 12.36% to 14%, but it will come into effect on a later date. Benchmark Sensex fell by about 18 points to close at 27,957, wrapping up 2014-15 with a hefty 25% gain, its best performance in 6 fiscal years. After jumping 205 points in early trade, the 30-share index frittered away gains on emergence of profit booking and ended with a marginal fall of 18.37 points or 0.07%. Vice Admiral P. Murugesan was accorded Guard of Honor today as he took charge as the Vice Chief of the Indian Naval Staff. Vice Chief S. Lanba was appointed Chief of the Southern Naval Command that was earlier designated to SPS Chima. Chima will now serve in the Western Naval Command. Time for a quick break right now, but coming up on the other side, all the international news. Negotiations have picked up pace as the deadline for the Iran nuclear talks is nearing.
Saudi Arabia leads coalition airstrikes. The conflict in Yemen. Dragging in West Asia and the Gulf. What will be the end game? Watch the big picture at 6:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Now, India stepped up its efforts to evacuate trapped Indians in war-torn Yemen. The centre has deployed warships and planes to help around 400 Indians waiting to be rescued. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has sought help from Saudi Arabia in the process. Meanwhile, an airstrike targeting the Houthi rebels killed at least 40 at a camp in North Yemen as the Arab coalition stepped up attacks in the region.
As Saudi-led coalition airstrikes gain momentum in Yemen, the move has adversely affected the pace of evacuations of Indians stranded there. At least 400 Indians are waiting to be evacuated from Yemen as the centre deployed warships and planes to speed up the evacuation process. The Navy has dispatched INS Mumbai and INS Tarkash for evacuations of Indians besides 2 passenger ships from Cochin. 2 Air India flights that were scheduled to bring back Indians failed to go ahead, awaiting clearances from overseas authorities. The government says it is in constant touch with the local leaders to ensure safe travel of evacuees. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also spoke to King Salman and sought help from Saudi Arabia.
Approximately 4,000 Indian nationals remain in the conflict zone in Yemen. As a government, we've launched a national endeavor to ensure their safe return back to India. As a first step today, 400 Indian nationals are being evacuated from Aden by the sea route.
The Arab coalition indicated the strikes will continue for a considerable period of time. Warplanes targeting rebels bombed the runway of the international airport in the Yemeni capital of Sana'a. In another attack targeting Houthi militants, an airstrike killed at least 40 people at a camp for displaced. Yemen's foreign minister put the entire blame for the killings on the militants, denying any links to Saudi operations.
This is really untrue. They are always trying to have what is called a human shield. Houthis, they are going to places where there is some population or residential houses, and they are trying to put their weapons there. Sometimes also they use when there is some airplanes coming.
The fighting has brought civil war to the Arab country, which was already sliding into chaos. Yemen has now become the latest stage for Saudi Arabia's past struggle with Iran. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, negotiations over Iran's nuclear program has reached the final hours in Switzerland as foreign ministers from the P5+1 nations and the Iranian foreign minister are meeting. Negotiators work late into the night and are continuing talks in an all-out effort to meet the self-imposed deadline of midnight today to reach a consensus.
Iran nuclear talks have gone down the wire. With just hours to go before the end of a self-imposed deadline to produce an agreement, diplomats of Iran and world powers are weighing options in Lucerne. However, they say that the talks have a good chances of success. Negotiators are seeking a general agreement by midnight and a comprehensive deal in June.
Я действительно планирую вернуться и принять участие в завершающей части министерского заседания «шестерки». Перспективы у этого раунда переговоров неплохие, я бы даже сказал, хорошие. Шансы велики.
可以说称之为马拉松式的谈判，应该说已经到了一个最后的冲刺的阶段。这次7国外长云集瑞士洛桑，那么就是为了在一个更高的层面上。
The talks between US, Britain, France, China, Germany and Iran are focused on curbing the nuclear program to prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons while easing sanctions that have crippled that country's economy. However, there are voices of dissent regarding the deal with concerns of possible proxy wars. The US Congress has threatened to vote on increasing sanctions if a framework is not reached in March.
Exceedingly dangerous, and I think that's one of the reasons why you see the White House reaching out very publicly, but also very privately to key Democratic senators to make sure that they can maintain their veto authority over any of these dangerous sanctions bills that are coming down the pike.
It's a sophisticated country with a vision more and more powerful in the Middle East, and therefore on the Sunni side there might be temptation for some to support extremist groups to fight against Iran by proxy.
Despite the progress, substantive differences remain. These include the pace of sanctions relief and the nature of restrictions on Iran's nuclear research and development. It is to be seen if the diplomats are indeed able to iron those differences to reach a broad framework agreement by the end of the day that would be used as the basis of a final accord. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Some sports now, and former New Zealand captain Daniel Vettori has announced his retirement from international cricket today. Vettori announced his decision 2 days after New Zealand's loss in the World Cup final against Australia. In a career spanning 18 years, Vettori has taken 705 wickets and scored close to 7,000 runs in all formats of the game. He became New Zealand's youngest ever Test player when he made his debut against England in February 1997 at the age of 18. He's the second highest wicket taker for his country after Sir Richard Hadlee. He also led his side in all formats of the game. Vettori had a successful World Cup, picking up 15 wickets in the tournament.
To be able to finish in a final, albeit without a win, I'm just very grateful for the amount of support I had, particularly from Brendan and the two Mikes, to be able to get back from a number of injuries and to be here and to be part of it and to be hopefully a big contributing factor to us making that final is something I always treasure.
Well, that's it from us. Goodbye.